Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at some ridiculous stadium designs that never ended up happening. These are just weird, kind of quirky designs that I found on the internet, starting with the Denver 1990 proposal. What is this? The World Trade Center 2.0. That's what it says on the exterior. It was a plan downtown. The site would have been just a few blocks from where Coors Field was built, and the plan called for a retractable roof and a helipad. Also looks like there's some, again, like the World Trade Center, maybe some buildings, some offices in there on each side. Really an interesting design with the big circle in the middle. Would not be very good, you would think, in terms of baseball design, just looking at this. It kind of reminds me of one of those older coliseums, you know, that sat like 70,000 people, but it was just one giant bowl. You know, very, very ugly interior, just two sections, and then, you know, just kind of almost like a T, but the bottom of the T is cut off, or the top of the T is cut off. Kind of a weird design there. But that's actually a pretty nice updated photo of it I found in an article of what it might look like. Again, the interior is just completely grotesque, but seems to be connected by some type of offices, buildings all around with three main different entrance points. I mean, this one's got to be a joke. This was a potential Dodger Stadium renovation in 2012. It says the renovation basically took Rangers Ballpark in Arlington as a template. Yeah, I mean, you just can't do this. It's like some April Fool's joke, I'm guessing. It's just copying the old Rangers Ballpark. They recently got the new, retractable roof stadium, Globe Life Field. But yeah, you can see the big old retro right field grandstand. The upper deck on the right is exactly the same. The seating on the left is exactly the same, and it has a green patch in center field, the exact same batter's eye. So I'm going to assume that this was just a troll or something. There's just not a lot of effort that goes into this here. You're not going to just completely copy a stadium. And really, Dodger Stadium is loved. Why would you want to renovate it and just make a carbon copy? That reminds me of the LA proposal, or what was it, the Carson City proposal, where they were going to take Soldier Field and just put it in LA, basically, the exact same thing, trying to get an LA football team to the city. Next, we have the Tropicana Field renovation. So they realized relatively early in Tropicana Field's lifespan that it was a completely joke of a stadium, so they immediately thought, do we renovate it? This was their major league downtown project that would have cost $500 million, but it was rejected almost immediately. Now, I will say, to me, that, well, you know what? If this was proposed in the early 2000s, maybe it would cost $500 million. But if they actually tried doing this today, this would be $1 billion renovation, because if you're going to put a retractable roof on a stadium, that's going to cost $500 million in and of itself. And then they also planned for the interior of the Trop to be renovated. They were adding press boxes. They were going to take out some seats in the upper deck. All of it is pretty, obviously at this point, completely useless. The Rays are either getting a new stadium or they are relocating. It's one or the other. Also some home plate suites, home plate club as well. I thought the Rays already had one of those. Or did maybe that? No, I think they still do. But either way, that was the Tropicana Field. You can see they also have a new club level of seating there, and they've removed several seats. This was the pre-Jacobs Field Cleveland proposal in the mid-1980s. You can take a look at that design. That's just one of those old, boring. They got to be thankful that did not happen. Oh my goodness! Could you imagine the Guardians probably would have had to, or I guess the Indians at the time would have had to have built a new stadium probably in, I would say, the early 2000s if they started play at this place. You're going from Municipal Stadium to Municipal Stadium 2.0. Honestly, it looks maybe a little bit worse, but yeah, that would be a terrible design. This was the 1965 Boston Dome. It consisted of a retractable roof dome for football and baseball, along with an arena for basketball, hockey, and dog racing. Yes, they're designing a stadium in the hopes of attracting some nice dog racing events. The unique retractable dome was made up of 12 diamond-shaped sections that moved outward to open and close. So, reminds me a little bit of the Montreal Olympic Stadium that they have, where they tried to make an elaborate retractable roof and it ended up failing and the thing doesn't even open now and they need a renovation on it. That thing should honestly, that stadium is completely aged. They should just not dump more money into it. Imagine if the Red Sox moved from Fenway and they demolished Fenway and they moved into this place. They would have already needed a new stadium. This thing is completely out of date, but this was designed in the 60s. I mean, look at that. Are you kidding me? Come on, that is your typical 60s design. You've got the golden ring of upper deck seatings. That actually might be innovative for the 60s. This was the 1964 LA Angels Stadium. It says this concept was to be located in a hill reservoir, and it is unclear if this was ever taken seriously. I mean, what is going on there? I don't even know what to make of that. I don't think this was taken seriously because it looks like half of the outfield is a hill. I mean, what's going on? I don't know. I don't think that was taken seriously. This was another Cleveland design in 1968. It was either a new baseball stadium or a renovation to Cleveland Municipal Stadium. And you can see Cleveland was just upset. Like, what is the purpose of this exactly? This looks like a 70,000 seat baseball field. I mean, you've got the lower bowl, you've got a huge middle section, and then the upper deck on top of that, and then you have that dreaded looking center field bleacher section that gives you no batter's eye. I don't know why Cleveland was so obsessed with that. The greenhouse. This was one of the Atlanta Falcons, or this was the only other major Atlanta Falcons design before they ended up going with that crazy roof. You guys know the new Mercedes-Benz that hosts a lot of big events, but this was the other concept that was in the running. And yes, it is a greenhouse. You know, you gotta listen. I wish, they clearly chose the right design, but this is a cool little thing. It looks like a greenhouse. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, what is going on with this? So I found this, and apparently this was just made for fun. It was never meant to be enacted, but it was called the OCTOPUS. It's just disgusting. It looks like an octopus tentacles coming out, and that is supposedly, like, on each section. Like, it's supposed to be easy access for fans, I guess. So each section has its own separate stairway, and to fit all the stairs in, I guess, they had to make an octopus design. It's disgusting looking, but it was never meant to actually be into place. It was just kind of a cool concept. This is the Cleveland HEXATRON, the only image I could find of it. You know what? This is crazy. If you squint, you look at this. This was in 1985. It was proposed 55,000 capacity for baseball, 70,000 for football, multi-purpose crap. But if you squint, it does look like the new Minnesota Vikings Super Stadium. A little bit, it does. I can see it. They were trying to design the first Super Stadium in 1985. That's some innovation. This is the 1985 Chicago Dome, which was a concept that was proposed. Both the football stadium, the baseball dude, the way they made these. So the ballpark, it says capacity 54,000. I mean, that's a lot of people for a baseball stadium, man. That's 81 home games, 54K. And then the football stadium, the capacity was 78K. They would share a roof, and they had a really elaborate, almost like boat-type roof design. If you look at that there, very interesting. There you can see the baseball seating. I don't know how it would have sat 54K. It doesn't look like there's much seating. And then you can see the football stadium kind of located right next to each other. Reminds me of the Kauffman Stadium and the Arrowhead shared, retractable roof. But this one would have been fully enclosed, I believe. Or would it have? I don't even think you can do that. No, you can't do that. You can't fully enclose two different ones, but you can see they would have shared the same roof. And then this is the Comiskey Park renovation. So this is new Comiskey Park before it was renamed US Cellular. It is now known as Guaranteed Rate, but this was obviously they were trying to find something. What do we do? They ended up having the upper deck renovation, taking the seats out of the upper deck. This was actually a proposal in the early 2000s, and listen, it is a complete knockoff copy of the right field grandstand again at the Rangers ballpark in Arlington, but I would endorse something like this because the White Sox just have a completely boring stadium, and if they were to add something, I mean, you can't just steal the exact design. You would have to make it a little bit different, you would hope, but I would have endorsed something like that because their current stadium, the outfield seating is just so bland. But there is that. So guys, those are just some interesting, ridiculous stadium concepts. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.